Serious people with nightmare siblings, what's the most ducked up thing they ever did? It's hard to decide between him trying to strangle me to death in my sleep, him permanently ducking up my hip with a metal bat when I was 9, and him spending over an hour at my birthday dinner recounting every single story of him intentionally hurting me as a kid, most of which I had always thought were accidents, and getting everyone to laugh about it at me. My brother is in prison for kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, evading arrest, attempted murder, possession of an illegal firearm, possession of a controlled substance, possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute, manufacturing a controlled substance with intent to distribute, and as a cherry on top of the shit pile, rape. Here's a truly messed up thing the rest of the family was surprised it wasn't worse. Yeah, my bro is also locked up for stupid bad shit. Looking at missing out on 15 years of his daughter's life. She will have graduated college with a 4-year degree by the time he gets out. If he offends again with the same charges he is looking at getting out after I retire, and our father likely being dead. While my mom was dying of lung cancer, unable to move, and in horrible pain, my junkie brother stole all of her opioid bandages. She even kept them under her pillow, so none could have access to them. He would bend to kiss her, and sneak his hand under to grab them. She had a nice job working for the FBI. Her job was to do background checks on people in need of security clearance. There was a guy she knew and liked, a cruise ship captain, needed to renew his clearance. To try to get him pissed at his girlfriend, my sister added items to his girlfriend's criminal record. Since it was a renewal, the guy escalated it, and what my sister did was discovered. She was convicted and sent to federal prison for a year. What really screwed it up was she didn't tell her kids, they were in their late teens and early 20s, that she had court issues. So they came home from school to an answering machine saying, "Mommy can't make dinner tonight because she'll be in prison for a while." I know this is far from the point of the story, but why does a cruise ship captain need a clearance? Edit: obviously a ship captain requires a background check investigation, but that's different than a security clearance though. A security clearance gives you access to things like intel on foreign adversaries or specific info on military capabilities. Neither of those things are required for operating a civilian craft. Now I guess there could be some info on distress calls or something like that, but I would still be surprised that they would need a security clearance for that. My older brother once sat on me and mummified me with duct tape and then left me outside in 30-degree weather while he played PS2 with headphones on. He taped my hands and feet together first and then the rest of me. I couldn't even fight back. I was left that way until our mom got home a few hours later and grounded the shit out of him. My husband's older sister duct taped him into his sleeping bag while they were on a big family camping trip, then sat on him and tickled him through the bag to make him wet his pants. She was 12. He was 10. And as many 10-year-old boys are, scrawny and much smaller than her. The adults were in the adult camp, probably deep in a bottle of whiskey and grateful the horde of kids were entertaining themselves. This wasn't a ducked up thing that my brother did to me personally, but I think it's worth mentioning. He and his now ex-girlfriend had a super toxic relationship. I don't know the whole story as I was never close with her, and I don't trust my brother's account of things. But there was something my brother did once that made me decide, oh, he's not just a dick in a toxic relationship. He's a manipulative abuser. He had his best friend text him pretending to be the girlfriend's best friend. They orchestrated this whole story in which the best friend came on to my brother, but he turned her down because he's loyal to his girl. He even went as far as to save his friend's contact info as the best friend's phone number. When he showed his girlfriend the texts, it obviously looked like her best friend sent them. She ultimately believed my brother over her best friend because the phone number doesn't lie. Also, my brother's a fantastic liar, so that helped. Anyway, they've been broken up for years now, and the ex-girlfriend and best friend still hate each other. They had been friends since they were 7. I haven't spoke to him since he stole money from me to buy weed and denied it until I threatened to file a police report. Last I heard, he's in a happy relationship. I wish that girl luck. I remember when I was 12, my younger brother, who was 9 at the time, got super pissed off at me. He ran to the kitchen to grab a knife. He chased me with it until I ran into my room and locked the door. My sister was psycho. I ate the last of the bread, so she chased me with a knife. There was another time she chased me with a fork. Couldn't catch me, so she threw it, and it stuck in my leg. I was maybe 8 or 9 when this happened. For context, my dad was deployed, and my mom was working. So my brother had to babysit me. My brother was around 16 at the time. As soon as my mom left, he shoved me into a closet and locked me inside for 6 or so hours. I was scared of the dark and couldn't reach the light string. He didn't let me out to use the bathroom or eat anything. So I ended up going on myself and sitting in the dark until my mom came home. She told me that he was asleep in his room when she got home. Needless to say, I really ducking hate him. He's still an awful person, by the way. My twin and I were used for blood sport under duress by my elder brother. He couldn't keep beating us and maintain the lie that he was innocent, so he made us fight each other, or he would be just one of us and say the other one had done it. We have scars all over our bodies, slashes, burns, broken fragments of improvised weapons embedded under our skin. My twin has nerve damage in his face from my elder brother punching him repeatedly in the face while holding him by the throat, so he couldn't recoil or try to get away. We had planned to break his legs in his sleep and stab him to death, but he eventually left for college and conveniently forgot everything he had done to us. We will never forget. My parents regret letting it happen and believe us now. My elder brother has done a lot to repair relations with us, and I have an okay relationship with him now. But my twin won't talk to him until he owns what he did. I believe he has remorse. I just don't think he can wear his past comfortably in the present. Used my own child to hurt me. My parents would babysit my young son while I was working and my older adult brother was there. He has always hated me and done everything in his power to hurt me because I was the baby of the family. My son was around 5-6 years old, and I caught him verbally impressing onto my child ideas of weird sexual fetishes, like he was trying to corrupt him mentally to hurt me. Removed him from that situation as soon as I figured out what he was doing. I hate my brother. He has always done mean things to me my whole life. I swear he's a sociopath. My brother is 5 years older than me. When he turned 12, my folks trusted him to watch me when they went out for short trips to the store, dinner, whatnot. When I was about 8, I got into a terrible fight with my brother one night when he was watching me. I think it started with something stupid. I wanted to watch a movie and he wanted the living room and TV to watch something I thought was scary. He told me to duck off upstairs to my room. We almost always came to blows over everything. His reactions to arguments were always to get inches from your face and scream as loud as he could and puff up to intimidate. He 100% learned this from our father. He then would put hands on you if you stepped up to him, and I often did, and as I started to do to my father as well. That night we started screaming at each other and he slapped me across the face. I was so shocked I fell on my ass and looked at him in disbelief. He'd split my lower lip. He hit me so hard. I started to cry and said I was going to call our grandmother who lived about 30 minutes away. This was before cell phones and I didn't think about calling my folks wherever they were. As soon as I stood to run to the phone, he grabbed me by the collar of my shirt and tried to keep me away from the phone. I screamed and tried to push him away, but he grabbed my hair with his other hand and forced me into the ground. He was behind me. His arm shifted into a bear hug. His legs wrapped assertions mine, and I couldn't move. I felt his arm shift, and one of his forearms went at my neck and his opposite hand clasped over my mouth, and then my nose. I screamed or tried that I couldn't breathe. I couldn't sick in any air at all. I clawed at his arms, but I remember trying to kick my legs and found they couldn't budge. We writhed like that for what felt like a long time, but I clearly remember fading out and going dark. When I woke up, I was laying on the floor and I had peed myself at some point. I remember feeling so ashamed of that later. I felt tired and sore, but I looked up and saw my brother sitting on the couch watching his movie and completely ignoring me. He had unplugged the 2 phones we had and had them in his lap. I couldn't move for a long time and I remember just laying there, hurting in my lungs, crying, but quietly because when I sucked in air my chest felt broken. He didn't even look at me, but he said if I told mom or dad he would shoot me. I eventually crawled into the kitchen, walked up the stairs, slipped out of all my wet clothes, and fell into bed and to sleep. I never told my parents. He is now 38. Beat me many times before and after that incident, before he left the house at 18. But never that bad. He is a deadbeat dad. Currently in prison for his 5th DUI and marijuana possession charge. Homeless when not in prison. Has never held a job more than a few months. Lies, cheats, steals, and my dad still loves him to death. I don't think I have ever loved my brother. I love my brother 2 years younger than me, and he was often able to beat me in similar ways. Especially because I let him beat me, because I know that if I don't let him, he'll never give up until somebody injures. Until a day when he was really angry and started again using a chair against me as a sword. I really had enough, and when he swinged the chair, I grabbed it and forced him to the ground with it. I really felt myself like an anime character during a fight. My brother was lying on the ground, scared as shit, and the chair was in my hands over my head ready to strike. I wasn't able to do it. I put down the chair, started crying and told him that I had enough. Now, he respects me and knows that I'm stronger. It was at age 15 and we were at the same height. He was taller than me. I'm really small. We still really love each other like we are 7-year-olds. He married a girl. Wedding had a lot of duckies to our family in it. But aside from those, announced at the wedding, we are pregnant. Turned out, about 4 months at that point, they had the baby. 1 month later he announces, it's too much. She's a bitch. I can't take this. I'm leaving and going to move in with a friend from work. Turns out friend from work is 8 months pregnant at this point with his next kid. By some miracle he doesn't leave that girl when the baby is born, but gets her pregnant again, about as soon as is possible. I don't know if she wises up or something else at that point, but baby mama kicks him out then. Now he lives in my parents' basement, refuses to drive an hour to see his kids cause what good is that? One of those kids he spent their first month of life with and has seen about a dozen times since. The second I think he spent the entire first, call it, 10 months of their life together till mommy was knocked up again and hasn't seen since. And the third he'd never seen. The wedding duckies part caught my attention. Care to give some examples? Sure. Hopefully this example is telling enough. Absolutely no children was on the invitation, so he made me leave my 6-month-old, his only niece at home. That was a bit upsetting. But then he got pissed when I told him I wasn't bringing my wife who breastfed the child was her only source of food at that point. See, the wedding was in the middle of butt duck nowhere. 5-hour drive from my home. His mastermind argument was you should rent a hotel room, leave the baby in there, and she wife can just go back and forth and feed her as required. Oh, you can get a babysitter to stay in the hotel room. Then they allowed the maid of honor to bring her baby to the ceremony, cause what was she gonna do? Leave a 3-month-old at home? I have 2 special needs siblings. They're sweethearts, but they're still a lot to handle. When we first got my little sister back from the orphanage, she was struggling to adjust to our house and really didn't like being told what to do. One day, when my mom told her she couldn't have a snack, she straight up pissed on the floor. Can't decide which was worse. Pretending to be pregnant. She was a teenager at the time, the night before my siblings' big school exam finals, my 21st birthday presumably, because the attention wasn't on her. As a school dropout with no job at the time, or the time she stole my aunt's money and house after she died. Then tried to claim that there was no money. The council took the house back because we owed a load of tax. My mother, massive enabler who has never said no to her in her life, finally admitted to signing some legal documents which allowed her to do all of this. My other siblings and I found bank statements afterwards. Scary thing is, I think she believes her own lies. She tried to wreck the car with me and my other sister in it. I was 8 or 9. Toxic sister was 24. Took off yelling, "Let's duck in wreck tonight." Girls, because her ex-boyfriend wouldn't take her back. We were in his neighborhood. We were screaming, He came running to the stop sign, made her turn around, and snatched me, and not crazy sees out the car, called our parents to come get us, and wouldn't let her near us. Coke and being some kind of narcissistic borderline psycho don't mix well. Kids, when I grew up, she wound up ducking my ex. Now she lives with a boyfriend who isolates her and treats her like shit, and most of her teeth have fallen out from pills and other drugs. I moved 2,000 miles away. Funny how that worked out. My brother is a bit of a problem, not just for the family but also society. He is a deadbeat father because of his drug addiction, and now he is looking at serving up to 15 years in prison because he is a 2-time convicted felon that was caught with 2 firearms and over 100 rounds of ammunition, plus false italio and various drugs in his possession. So the worst thing he has ever done is be a deadbeat father. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.